Ooh, welcome to More Fanime. I'm your fan of more anime, and today I will be discussing the Zou Arc from One Piece. We have made it to Zou! Honestly, I had never heard of Zou until I started reading One Piece, and very late into it, I think someone mentioned Zou, and I was like, well, what is that? Turns out it's an arc. And it's a damn good arc. I would say it's kind of a transitional arc, a setup arc, if you will. Very similar to how Sabaody was setting up the Marineford arc, kind of way. Kind of set that whole thing, that whole saga up, and I feel like Zou is doing the same thing, but for this next big saga we're going to be entering, like the Rescue Sanji arc. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I know we're going to see Big Mom, and I know that she's one of the four emperors and is very dangerous, and the Zou really did its job getting me excited. I also predicted that the next big arc, which is coming up, would include the members of the team that were left out of most of Dressrosa, which is Chopper, Brook, Nami, and Sanji, and it's really looking like I was correct in saying that. And I'm pretty excited about the fact that we are going to get a chance to focus, put the lens on, put the spotlight on Sanji, put the spotlight on Nami, give Chopper and Brook something to do other than doctoring and singing, which is their job, but give them a little bit of meat and potatoes, some more substance for their characters, not just helping people or singing along, which I appreciate they do those things, but their characters deserve a little bit of development. Shit's going down in Zou, people. I am so excited for the future of this series. I mean, when you get past the 2-year time skip, you almost have this feeling like, oh man, I'm already at the 2-year time skip, and now it must be on our way out of this story. But no, I don't even feel like we're even close, even though I do know the current chapter number. But it doesn't even feel like, even with another 200 chapters, I don't feel like they could come close to scratching the surface of all the questions that I want answered. And I'm sure Oda's just going to add more questions on top of these questions, and he might answer one or two. But he finds a way to just keep you interested, keep you invested in his writing, and it's so good. For Zou, honestly, my only gripe, which really didn't bug me too much, is the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of action, I guess. There was action, and I thought the action was really good for what it was. They didn't do a lot of fights, I guess, but it didn't bug me in the least bit. And especially coming off the heels of Dressrosa, where we were just given a whole smorgasbord of fights. Back to back to back, and they were all fantastic. We even had a big old transformation with Gear 4. So not having a whole lot of action, but a lot of setup here was actually a nice way to relax me a bit, to chill out. And Zou is an interesting place. Let's just start with that. It is literally an island of a species called Minks, these animal people that live on the back. The island is located on the back of a giant elephant. And this giant elephant has been alive for 1,000 years. So that tells me that it's been alive since the Void Century. Not sure if that's going to come into play, but that's what that tells me. And I have noted that. And also, the island, like I mentioned, there's a Minks, these animal people that live on the back of this elephant. And they're interesting. They raise a couple questions. Maybe not questions, but it kind of is weird that there's these animal creatures, and then there's also Chopper, who was actually a reindeer but ate the human fruit, and he's a human reindeer. He's basically a mink, a devil fruit made mink, if you will. These are his people. Like, if Chopper was ever going to leave the crew, this would be the place to stay. If you're ever going to be like, you know what, I think my journey's over, this would be the place for Chopper to be. He would be a welcome member of this clan of powerful. I feel like the Minks are very powerful, and strong and durable for what they had to go through over the last few weeks in the story. Like, they're pretty interesting. They introduce a mink called Carrot, who I have heard of before. I've heard the people talk about Carrot. I've heard it in the comments section. I've seen Carrot before in pictures or as a toy at a store. And she intrigues me. Her first scene is dodging one of Zoro's attacks, like jumping over Zoro's slash of his sword. And Zoro's a quick motherfucker, to say the least. And she's able to dodge his strike, which was awesome, if you ask me. I thought that was badass. Like, that dodge of Zoro's attack really tells me how powerful these minks are. And her ability to jump really high, because she's a rabbit person, was really cool. The way that it was drawn, at least, it really got me hyped, especially since I know that she's going to be an important character. And I like her design. I like that we're getting another species to follow the crew, not just more samurais. Which, I don't think I'm tired of seeing samurais, but it's starting to wear on me. And I know I was getting sick of the fishmen as well for a minute there, because we were kind of on the Fishman Island a while. And I was ready to just do different things. And I'm happy that there's Minks now. And they're interesting characters. They're actually ruled by these two kings. One's like a lion, and he rules during the night. Or it's like a cat person. And then one's like a dog, and he rules during the day. But then they mended their bonds, so now they rule all the time. It's a whole thing. They have a whole society here. These minks are badass, and not just for being strong and have really, cool abilities naturally, since they have animal instincts and whatnot. But they're really cool, like personality-wise. They're very welcoming. There was almost this air of like, whoa, what if the minks hate humans? But very much not that way at all. They love humans. And, it's got to be hard to ever see humans, because it's hard to find this giant moving elephant island, constantly moving. I mean, unless you have a paper, the Reverie card thing that'll take you there, it's going to be a pain in the ass to get there. But shit goes down on this island before Luffy's crew even arrives. And this guy named Jack, who works for Kaido, shows up with his crew of pirates, and they fuck up the Minks. The Minks actually have a samurai / ninja that's from Wano that is waiting to meet up with Kinemon and Kanjuro. And this guy was on the island, and the Minks hid him when they found out that these intruders, Kaido's men, which includes Jack, the leader of this crew, which I mentioned, who can transform into a woolly mammoth. So we have a woolly mammoth on top of a gigantic 1,000-year-old elephant, people. That happened. Because there was a point where he was in his mammoth form and we didn't see his human form yet. And I was like, are we just dealing with a talking woolly mammoth right now? But no, it's a devil fruit ability. It's hard to keep track of who's got a devil fruit ability or who's just an animal person. But Jack tortures these people to try to find where Raizo is hiding. They even continually tell him he is not on this island. And I believed that Raizo wasn't on that island, or he was and he's gone now. And the fact that they kept that a secret, and I'm assuming Jack slaughtered people on this island. Most of them survived because they released a poison gas created by Caesar, the dude from Vegapunk, or Punk Hazard. And luckily Caesar does show up and remove the gas, but the gas was supposedly going to slowly kill everybody on this island. And Caesar's gas is kind of weak, if you ask me. I mean, it takes a week to actually kill people, and as long as you can get medical attention, you'll be fine. That seemed to happen. It happened on Punk Hazard, and it really frustrated me because it kind of ruined the sacrifice that some characters made there. Some of those Marines that sacrificed themselves in the land of the dead, and them getting broken out of their little shell and being able to be doctored on and whatnot was kind of lame. And then that happening sort of here again with the Minks kind of made it feel less intense, or it's just that Caesar's gas is terrible and he needs to work on his formulas. Because I feel like Dr. Vegapunk could come up with a poison gas that would kill you instantly. I mean, there are animals with poison in their veins that can kill you pretty quickly. The fact that Caesar's gas is like this, oh God, we're all gonna die in 14 days, is kind of weak. Unless Caesar did that on purpose, because he didn't want to hurt nobody. But I doubt it, because he's a terrible person. So, Sanji, Chopper, Nami, and Brook, and Caesar show up on Zou. They force Caesar to remove the poison gas. I forgot to mention that Jack and his crew, Jack and most of his crew took off to go save Doflamingo, which he fails at. And so Sanji shows up with Brook, and they end up taking out the remainder of the Kaido pirates. And that's a good thing. They basically saved the day without... Oda didn't even show us them saving the day. It was a couple panels of them fighting some of the members of Kaido's crew, which does tell me that, at least Sanji is on that level of Kaido henchmen. And Sanji saves the motherfucking day, which is dope. But the fact that Oda didn't show us these 4 primary members of the Straw Hat crew, almost all of Dressrosa, probably 2 years or 3 years of publishing before we got to see them again, which had to be maddening when this was coming out week to week or month to month, however you digested this. You must have been losing your mind waiting to see Sanji again, waiting to see Nami again, Brook and Chopper. What is going on with them? Oda could have easily shown us bits and pieces of them on their travels, fighting Jack and his men, fighting the Big Mom pirates, but he doesn't. The fact that his story is so long, and there's so many moments where he could show us in detail things that are happening. During this arc, we find out that the Whitebeard pirates, the remainder of them, fought the Blackbeard pirates at some point during the 2-year time skip. Aokiji and Akainu fought during the 2-year time skip. We also find out at the end of this arc, Zou, that the Revolutionaries and Blackbeard's crew fight as well, and it sounded epic. But Oda shows us none of these fights. And he could have easily stretched the story out even further, showing us these badass fights, which we all probably want to see. But he doesn't care. He does care, but he's my story is about the Straw Hat crew. And if they happen to be around, or if it's very important to their characters, I'll show it. And the fact that he could have made this story even longer by showing these fights and didn't is crazy to me. And it shows some balls, because he knows that his story is so good, he doesn't have to fill it with fights after fights after fights. But I do hope, fingers crossed, we get a special issue where we get to see some of these battles. Who doesn't want to see Dragon versus Blackbeard? Who doesn't want to see Sabo versus Blackbeard's crew? Who doesn't want to see Marco versus Blackbeard? I sure do. These two have some history. I want to hear about it. Maybe Oda's not showing us these things because it would reveal shit that we don't need to see. But at least show us some snippets of it, some clips, some highlights. And of course, Akainu and Aokiji would be amazing to watch in action. I would honestly prefer if they took these battles and got Oda involved and released like a 1 hour special about these arcs, or a 2 hour special, hour and a half. I'll meet you in the middle, right? It would be amazing. And I think the entire fan base would love to see it. But Oda's got these big writer balls. And he says, no, my story is so good, I don't need it. Throw those fights away. Throw these amazing fights away. Let's get back to the story is what Oda's saying. And that's what I'm saying. So Sanji saves the day along with the rest of the Straw Hat crew. I'm assuming Sanji did most of the heavy lifting because he's a badass. But Brook got to do an ice sword attack at least once during this. I saw that at least. And then Chopper comes in and probably does the most important part and does all the doctoring for the entire island, which could not have been easy. Props to Dr. Chopper right there. They save the day. We didn't even get to see a whole lot of this. It's all done through like a flashback story thing that's told to Luffy and the rest of the crew when they arrive. But the most important part is the Big Mom pirates show up, and Sanji confronts them immediately, and I got hyped because he ain't scared of nothing. And they tell him, hey, we want Caesar. And Sanji's like, cool, take Caesar. We don't want him. Law kind of wanted him, but I'm not going to put the rest of the crew at risk. Take him. We don't want him. But then there was more to the story. And but before that, not only are the Big Mom Pirates there, but a new member of the Big Mom Pirates that we didn't realize was a Big Mom Pirate yet is Bege Capone. The Capone Pirates are now part of Big Mom's crew. He's trying to work his way up. He even says something like, if you're not aligned with a emperor in the New World, you won't last long. And I never even thought about the idea that some of the worst generation might be aligned with the emperors of the sea or trying to work their way up. They're like, they're like vice emperor or vice admirals, and they're like, we want to be an admiral one day, but got to work my way there. And that's cray-cray. It's kind of a cheating method. Like, I'm going to work for one for a while, and maybe one day I'll be able to take that spot when they die. You know, the throne will be open. So they're like just biding their time. And that's what I think Capone might be doing. He's biding his time till Big Mom kicks the bucket and he might be able to take over. He's a tough SOB. I wasn't a huge fan of Capone the first time I saw him. I was like, okay, I get it, gangster gimmick. Mostly because I think Crocodile does the gangster gimmick a little better. And at least a little more unique. Capone's a little too on the nose for me. But this guy turns out to be a badass. He shoots down this guy named Peekum, this little lion dude that works for Big Mom. Luckily, he had the turtle fruit, so his shell protected most of his body, but he got slaughtered by Bege when he said that when he thanked the Straw Hat crew for saving the Minks, because it turns out Peekums is a mink as well, because he's a lion person. And it's hard to tell. Like I said, you don't know. Like, were they naturally humanoid animal, or did they eat a devil fruit? But we did know that Peekum ate the turtle fruit from way back at the Fishman Island. So Peekum is kind of an interesting character there. And it also opens up other things, because I think we've seen other animal people in the story as well. I can't think of them off the top of my head. The dude from the Heart Pirates. We find that he is originally from Zou. Gosh, I can't remember his name. The little polar bear man. And that makes a whole lot of sense, because before Luffy's like, what's with the polar bear? And nobody answers him. Like, so seriously, what's with the polar bear man? Like, Well, Chopper's a living animal. I would have assumed he ate the polar bear fruit. I was wrong. Well, the Heart Pirates are here as well, which is nice and all. Where were they? Were they were the Heart Pirates involved in fighting Jack and his crew? Because they were already there, so they must have been involved, and they got their butts kicked by this Jack guy. So we find out the crew ends up going inside of Capone because he's ate the castle fruit, which was insane. And he has his whole crew lives within him, which I knew about. But the way it was shown here got me so hyped for this character. And I can't wait to see this guy in an actual one-on-one battle. He slaughtered Peakums right in front of our eyes. I almost feel like Peakums should have died. It would have made it more devastating and just show how badass this Capone guy is. He shoots out of his hand because the people are in his hand with guns ready. His crew, his gang. I wouldn't even call him a crew, I'd call him a gang. This guy, he's got plans. And he tells Sanji, hey, you're going to be married. We're like, what? What do you mean? We also find out that Sanji is a Vinsmoke. I knew his last name was Vinsmoke from looking up the name Sanji just to learn how to spell it. I knew Vinsmoke. It's all over the, the advertising and whatnot. I've seen Vinsmoke before. I didn't realize it was a spoiler. I didn't realize we didn't know. I didn't realize they didn't mention it in the story until now. But yes, he's a Vinsmoke, a part of a crime family. I thought maybe he would have been secretly another celestial dragon like Doflamingo was. But turns out, no, he's just part of another group that's big. I'm curious how connected the Vinsmokes are to the celestial dragons. If they're so high up, they're assassins, I think. They're bad people, is from what I got out of this. They're bad. They come from some kind of place in the North Blue. Because I think we already found out that Sanji came from a different blue than the rest of the crew. But back in, I think it was Jaya, we found that out. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure. Now, Sanji's going to be married to one of Big Mom's daughters, Pudding. And I think Pudding's the girl with the 3 eyes that we saw a while back at Fishman Island on the phone when Luffy challenged Big Mom. And this is cray-cray, if you ask me. So Sanji's going to be married, but Sanji needs to marry Nami. So I don't know how this is going to work out. But Sanji is basically told, hey man, we know you, we know where you're from. And they kind of threaten Chef Zeph, the guy who kind of raised Sanji, back at the Bratier. They threaten him. They threaten the rest of his crew. If you don't come with me and get married, or at least go talk to Big Mom, because my job is to come get you, I'll send somebody to go kill Zeph, who will have nobody to protect him. He's way back before the Grand Line, back at the East Blue. So what you gonna do, Sanji Vinsmoke? Sanji ends up throwing the rest of his crew out of Capone's body, luckily, and says, I'll go with you, but I know you're not gonna hurt me, because Big Mom, the Vinsmoke family, sent you for me, right? They want me untouched, bitch. So I'll go with you, I'll figure this out, and I'll come back. He leaves a note for the crew. It's this whole thing, but it's got me so excited because I love Sanji, and I was recently talking about this in a video about how, Sanji's one of my favorite characters, but he needs something more. He needs something other than wanting to see the all blue. He needs something else, and this is that something else. Him being a part of a family, kind of like Killua from Hunter x Hunter being part of the Zoldyck family, this assassin family. That's so cool. And I can't wait to meet his father. What does Sanji's father look like? What is his attitude? Does Sanji get his pervertedness from his father? That would be something cool to learn. It would also explain why Sanji is the way he is. I'm pumped for this next arc just from this, and there's still so much to unpack here. So let's hop into it. Also, we find out Whitebeard might have a son. His name is, I can't remember, Edward Weevil, who is now also a 7 warlord. And I just recently did a countdown video of my top 10 warlords, and now there's an 11th warlord. So, but for right now, let's say Weevil's my least favorite warlord. He's cool. I wish they did this Whitebeard stories, like Whitebeard's son story, a little differently, personally. Like, it's cool. I like the idea that he might have a bastard son, and it makes sense. And this guy is obviously powerful since he's been wiping out Whitebeard crew members since the 2-year time skip. And his mama, who's the brains of the operation, is basically making him be evil. That's interesting, I guess. We'll see what he ends up being, but I think it would have been smarter if I'm not a good writer. I don't know where this is going, but I think it would have been cool if his son was an admiral or a vice admiral or a marine or someone who was completely against pirates. I think it would have been really interesting if Whitebeard's actual son was one of the 3 admirals after the 2 time skip. That would have been cool. That would have been interesting to me, but not a big deal. And that's cool. The Straw Hat crew arrive on Zou. They hear about all that backstory stuff from Nami and about Sanji leaving. Even Luffy's like, wait, what? Sanji left? I can't believe that. Not like that. He was a little more shocked than that. We do get to see Buggy as well. Being a badass warlord of the sea, I'm loving Buggy as a warlord, and it's amazing, if you ask me. The fact that Buggy is ruling over, I'm assuming, a town with a giant crew of devoted soldiers has got me hyped. And like I said earlier, I'm worried about the revolutionaries since they fought with Blackbeard pirates. That's pretty nutso-butso, if you ask me. The fact that we didn't get to see Dragon versus Blackbeard, but it also tells me that Dragon must not be stronger than Blackbeard, or they just caught them off guard. They might not have had a lot of revolutionaries in the secret base at the time, and that's why Blackbeard was able to overwhelm them with sheer numbers and a powerful crew, of course. He probably brought all his Titanic captains along with him. And this is all the fault of Jesus Burgess, which I almost feel like should be dead after what Sabo did to him, but he survived. But he does look pretty crispy, to say the least. So, Luffy and the crew show up, they find out the deets, and we find Raizo, who is protected by the Minks, who is a hilarious gag on Naruto, or at least it feels like it. He's a gag on the ninja aspect. He's a goofball, and he does a little bit of ninjutsu, which was cool. But Luffy, wants to go save Sanji, because he's his bro, and he's like, he's my cook. Nobody's going to take my cook. I need to go talk to Sanji. Like, if Sanji wants to leave my crew, he needs to tell that to my face. And there was this one part where he's like, I'm going to go save him by myself so we don't set off the Big Mom crew. And Zoro kept saying, like, no, let him go. Fuck Sanji. And I thought that was hilarious. But there's a part where Zoro's listening to the plan, even though Zoro doesn't always technically pay attention. And he's actually listening to the plan to save Sanji. And Luffy notices, and he's like, you miss Sanji, don't you? He's like, shut up, Luffy. This is like the few times that this is the one thing that Luffy and Zoro don't get along about. Like, their opinion of Sanji. And so Luffy and originally supposed to be a small crew, but it turns out that Brook, Chopper, Nami, Peekums, who's going to lead them to Big Mom's house, even though he was annihilated by Capone, he's going to lead them. 2 Minks, Carrot, who snuck on the ship, which I'm hyped for, because I'd love to see more Carrot. I want to know more about her character, because she's interesting. The fact that she dodged that Zoro strike got me hyped. And another Mink, who I cannot remember his name, but he's kind of going along to keep an eye on Peekum, since he's kind of a bad guy as well. Even though he was turned on by Beige, he still respects Big Mom, because she's a badass. We find out that Apu is working for Kaido. We find out that Kid is basically in jail he got his ass kicked. Augustus Kid got his ass handed to him. And apparently isn't working for Kaido because he's all locked up inside a cage. My guess is he wasn't willing to just to join up with the Kaido pirates, and maybe Kaido's like, well, fine, but you're really strong, so I want to keep you alive, and maybe I'll work you down, and maybe he wants to eventually get Kid to turn sides. Kid is interesting, because I really thought we would have known more about him at this point, since we know so much about Law. My prediction is this next arc, maybe later on, is going to devote some time to Kid, and we're going to go away from Law for a bit. And maybe this is Kid's moment. This is Kid's saga. If we get to see him again in the next arc, maybe the one after that. But maybe that's the time we're going into. Because it seems like the crew split up. I'm not 100% sure what Zoro and the rest of them are going to do. I'm hoping the focus stays on Luffy's gang. And we don't even know what's going on with Zoro and the crew. I mean, I am assuming that Zoro will get some training in at Wano, since he's kind of got the samurai gimmick going on. He's also got the blade he got from Ryuma. So that sword is going to come into play at Wano. Wano, I did not realize was going to be this fucking important. So the fact that I might be getting tired of the samurai gimmick, which I'm really not, I don't know, it just seems like we've been on it for a while. I need to get over that, because Wano's going to be very important. And very important to the whole history of this series. Because we find out there's these red Poneglyphs also, which is a huge deal. I'm sorry I'm all over the place. This arc was jam-packed with information that's very important to the story going forward. These red Poneglyphs that Nico Robin can also read, thank God. There's 4 of them. 2 of them are being held by Kaido. One of them being held by Kaido. One's been held by Big Mom. One of them is on Zou. But they all connect. Well, and one of them is a mystery. They all lead towards Laugh-Tail or Raft-Tail, the final island. And this last island is right in the center of these 4 Poneglyphs. Well, not the center of actually where they're located, but there's locations, I believe, on the Poneglyphs that tell you where to go. We're finally going towards the One Piece, the end goal of this series. I swear to God, we haven't talked about the actual One Piece treasure, the thing we started this adventure for, in so long. It's kind of refreshing to finally have some kind of piece of knowledge that's leading us towards the end goal. Once we find the locations that are written on these red Poneglyphs, we get them on a map. We use our navigator Nami, and in the center between all 4 of them is the location, supposedly, of the One Piece. And that's pretty dope. And we're going to go through Big Mom, we're going to go through Kaido, and then my assumption is maybe Shanks has the last one. That'd be a pretty good guess. Or at least he might know where it is. I mean, Shanks was on Goldie Roger's crew, so he has some information that we can get out of him. We don't even need these damn Poneglyphs. Just go back to Rayleigh, and he'll tell you how to get there, damn it. That's what if worst comes to worst, and you can't get that information, go back and talk to your sensei, Luffy. We also find out that Jack is a fishman at some point, which is nutso butso, because he gets knocked into the water. He shows back up again and challenges Zou, the island elephant, to a fight. And we find out that Luffy and Momo can hear the elephant speak to them somehow. My assumption was maybe Momo, because he's part, zone fruit user, so he can turn into an animal, so maybe he can understand animals. But then I was like, well, Chopper can understand animals, and he doesn't hear the voice. Turns out that Luffy can hear this elephant, and so can Momo. Momo gives the order to the elephant to attack Jack, who was attacking him. and the elephant bashed Jack across the sea and his entire fleet with one strike of his trunk. So that was crazy. That might have been the biggest action in the entire arc, and it was just one attack. Or it was a couple shots from Jack's fleet, but that was it. So I'm not sure exactly how strong this Jack guy is, but he's gotten his ass beat like 2 times in the few chapters I've seen him in. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually takes him down permanently. So this is getting pretty interesting, people. Luffy's on the quest to save Sanji. Sanji's part of a family of assassins. And we're going to meet Sanji's father, which is cool. Like, it's interesting to actually have parents that are alive in this crew. I'm really excited to see Nami's relationship with Sanji develop, because she seemed genuinely worried about Sanji's well-being, more than I thought she would ever be. Like, she really likes Sanji. And you kind of get that vibe here. Like, she was adamant on going with Luffy. Like, if no one else was going, she was going. She was the first person to be like, I'm going. I'm going to save Sanji as well, because I love Sanji secretly. I hope. I think they're the perfect two to ever, if they ever were going to pair up people. I'm not a big relationship person in anime, but I feel like they would be perfect together. And I never thought that as much until this arc, when she was so worried about Sanji. She knows he's got a good heart, which he does, and he's a good man. And I am so excited to see his character developed more. And I'm also excited to see what's going on with Blackbeard, man. Like, this dude off screen took out the Revolutionary Army's like hidden base that's been hidden for years. And we still don't know what's up with this dude. The dude's an emperor. I can't wait to see what's going on with Blackbeard. He's got the captains. He's got, apparently, Aokiji is working for him now, which sounds absolutely nuts. And I almost don't believe it. I almost feel like maybe Aokiji is secretly still a part of the Marines. And he is just infiltrating Blackbeard. Like, maybe the fight between Akainu was totally legit, 100% happened. Especially by the damage that the scars that they have from that fight. But maybe somebody approached him and was like, we're going to put you undercover, and you're going to pretend. This is a perfect reason for you to want to leave the Marines and want revenge. You got kicked out of your position as the fleet admiral. You're pissed off. So you go to Blackbeard and you tell him, hey man, I want to join you. I want to get some revenge on the Marines and the Celestial Dragons, yo. And they were like, and Blackbeard's like, yeah, man, you can join. Hop on in. And he believes him because he's literally missing a leg and he's burnt up by lava. And he did lose that fight. And I bet they would have approached Akainu as well to do the same thing if he lost. It's a perfect plan, if you ask me. I'm trying to think if there... Oh, another thing. Momo is the son of a man named Odin, who also sailed with Goldie Roger. And I think Kinemon sailed with Goldie Roger too. It almost seems like it. They kind of mention it. I kind of jumped over that. But there's some information here. There's a lot of information that I think we're going to get on Wano about Goldie Roger's crew. Like, there's an endpoint in sight now. These red poneglyphs have changed the game. We have a goal on top of goals. Like, we have goals on top of goals. We have a mini arc where we're going to do the retrieve Sanji arc is happening next, is what I assume is happening next. I'm assuming we're not going to see Zoro and the crew for a while. That's my assumption. I could be wrong. I kind of want a break. Let Zoro and the rest of them take a break. The crew is so big now, you kind of have to split them up and give them the spotlight like this. Obviously, keep Luffy in the forefront consistently, because he's the main character and he's awesome. But switch out the rest of the crew now. They're interchangeable in a way. Like, you do need them all to be together occasionally, but I do like the splitting up into gangs. I do want to see Nico Robin on her adventure as well, but we'll see her again, and it'll be the heart. What is it? Distance makes the heart grow fonder type thing. And I'll be super pumped to see Zoro again at Wano, but I'm happy to take a break and give the spotlight to Sanji. Give Sanji his own arc. This is his arc, and I'm excited to meet Big Mom. I'm assuming we're going to be ending up in a fight with Big Mom. Luffy is not necessarily known for being sneaky. So, some shit's gonna happen. Like, I don't know. I mean, Kid is locked up. I think Kid lost an arm because it looked like he was missing a limb or something. So, and then there's so many elements going on, and also ones that we didn't even get to touch on, like I mentioned with Blackbeard. Shanks hasn't been introduced. There's so many things going on in this series that's got me so excited, and Zou has got to be one of the best setup arcs of all time. I think my favorite is the first Sabaody arc, but this was my number 2 for sure. This is more Fanime. This has been my review of the Zou arc of One Piece. Oh, and I almost forgot. I almost signed out without mentioning the Reverie is coming. The Reverie, which happens every 4 years. The gathering of kings and queens from across the entire ocean. We get to see Vivi again, which I'm super pumped for. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if she rejoined the crew after the Reverie. She seemed very excited to be back on a ship again. Wapol, of all people, is a king again somewhere in the evil Drum Kingdom. What a name. He's going to the Reverie, so I'm excited to see his interaction with the Cherry Blossom Island, which used to be Drum Kingdom, with Dalton and the old lady doctor who's going with him. I can't remember her name right now, but she's important, and I hope that maybe they're all going to basically Moria, I think it's called, the place where the Celestial Dragons live, which is right above Fishman Island, which also Princess Wimpyoshi is going along with her royal family as well. They want to bring Fishman Island to the surface. Sounds cool to me. Sounds like they're finally taking steps towards a good thing. All these kings or queens are coming together, and they're gonna talk shit. It's gonna be a whole royal decree. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, the Celestial Dragons live here, and we're gonna kind of maybe see some of the Celestial Dragons' world, their island that they live on. Like, I'm very excited for that as well. Like, what is the Reverie exactly? What do they have? What kind of power does it really have? I'm Mr. Morfetto. This is More Fanime. What did you think of Zou? If you could please subscribe to the page. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers. We are on that journey together. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. Please comment down below. What did you think of Zou? I loved it. I really, really did. 0 issues whatsoever. It flowed. It was compact. It was a short little story that gave me so much to devour that I probably missed another big important thing. But I think I'm going to sign out here. I'll talk to you later.